Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Traitors Around the World podcast. We're here today to talk to the latest banished with a very heavy heart. Myself and Brian Scally are joined by the Kevin Martin. Kevin, how are you feeling at this hour, man?
Good. Weird. When you watch yourself go through that banishment process, and I don't know, your body kind of relives it. You're like, oh, it's really weird to watch yourself get voted out of a reality TV show, especially in the way I kind of fell apart and it was self-inflicted. And then there's just a lot of emotions there. But overall, big picture, I'm so happy. Like, what a great run on this show. You know what I mean? I feel amazing.
You definitely sparked a lot of energy and life into the show. Now, I want to start from the back, which is you said in a confessional right after the banishment that this was a roundtable you were going to be regretting for a long time coming. What do you regret about it?
I regret, basically, I could have turned down the whole volume. Like, it was such an emotionally charged day for me. I was on death's row, and I'm sorry. If I'm on death's row with Mary and Melissa, like, I'm done. That shield was such an emotional win. And I was like, oh my goodness, it was so big. I didn't take a second to regather and get back and get present again. And what I really regret is, obviously, I was just a little too forthcoming, and I shouldn't have mentioned Kuzi and Leroy's name. It was just so dumb. It was so dumb. I was like, maybe we're on the same wavelength where, like, I really thought Leroy was so under the radar. He could have used a little bit of heat to avoid the murder. And then Kuzi, I was actually really suspicious of as the traitor, but I should have just shut my mouth. I should have single-mindedly just gone after Mike, because that was one of my best reads at the moment, and like, that would have been, instead of spraying random ammo like a chaotic chicken, I don't know, I was just a little too scattered. So yeah, I was definitely self-inflicted at the end there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, it was a very difficult game that you were playing and didn't expect it to come down so soon. And all of the sudden, now at that round table, did you just feel things absolutely falling apart? Or once those names started coming in, was that a surprise?
Totally. Do you know what it was? And I wish I handled my relationship with Trevon better. After the show, I had one apology to give post-show. I messaged Trevon. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I was not in my best form at the middle. None of us were. We're exhausted. We've been competing in mental warfare for multiple days. I wish I handled that softly. As soon as I said that, I was like, Trevon, I gave him a bunch of reasons. And then finally I was like, Trevon, you just rubbed me the wrong way, man. There's something in this game where we're just never going to work together. As soon as I said that, zoom, every eyeballs turned at me. The heat was on me. Everybody just, like, it was so shocking. And from then I just couldn't get going again. A little behind the scenes, they cut this all out. Melissa A was very combative at some of these roundtables, and none of it made the show in a shocking way. So I say, Trevon, you rubbed me the wrong way. She goes, well, Kevin, you rubbed me the wrong way. She yells at me. And she's like, you have narcissistic behavior. You're in your own world. And she kind of laid into me a little bit. And I was like, oh, like, and then, so it was just, I was in a bad mental state during that whole last one. And do you know what? There's like, man, it's so weird. A piece of me was like content in a way or whatever. It's okay. I really feel like I left it in an okay time. And watching it back was really, really hard. But, you know, I kind of maybe needed to get out of there in a way. It was just, it felt weird. I had really a lot of peace with it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, we usually, when we see these banishments, everyone, when they're about to flip their chalkboard, has something to say. Felt like you got some daggers here. Specifically, the one I wanted to ask about was May saying that she felt like you approaching her that day was a last-ditch effort. What is she referring to?
Of course, May. I tried to play with May all the time. May was analytically, she gathered so much information. If you went to May and was like, May, who got banished on day 3? What were the votes? And she would be like, da 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 da. She had all the data in her head. She was one of the smartest people there. And every day I went to this lady and we just could never get on the same page. It didn't make sense. I'm like, May, you're a reality TV star who's a gamer. You play video games at home. Like, we're nerds. And for some reason we could just never get on the same page. And it was so frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. I just tried to play with her, honestly. There was nothing specifically I was trying to get out of her. I just wanted to go and kind of like, you know, extend the hand and say, hey, May, we're in the middle portion of this game. We haven't linked up yet. I think it would be really good for us to start working together. And that's basically all I did. And but, you know, I really don't think a lot of them thought I was a traitor. I think they just took a shot to get a strong player out. And, that was a lot of it. And my intensity started getting a little exhausting for some of them at the pace at which I was playing and the intensity. And so I think a lot of them saw the opportunity, and credit to them. I mean, it's a great play. Like, getting me out in that spot it can't be bad. So that was most of it.
Yeah. No, I definitely do see that. I mean, as soon as you're saying basically like I'm going to be voting out like who is not going to help me get like very far in this game. I think for a couple people it's like, all right, well, am I not that person? So it kind of raised a couple red flags. But who maybe were those people that you weren't working with as closely? Because I know we get flagged up like an alliance with Kuzi, Gurleen, Leroy, even Fierce. So where were your alliances in this game?
Yeah, I'll go through it one by one. Trayvon and I were very against each other for multiple rounds. May and I tried, but nothing happened. Donna and I tried, nothing happened. Melissa A tried, nothing happened. So kind of that other side of the house. Mickey tried, nothing really happened. So while socially I did connect with a lot of these people, the game relationship really wasn't there. And there was really two sides of the house. Me and Leroy were side by side. We had a final two. We were, I wanted options at the end of the game, but Leroy was definitely at the top of my list, someone I wanted to ride with. And you can see in the vote, the one that really hurt me was Leroy. I couldn't even look at him. It was so painful that he voted me out. And I didn't really blame him either. It was kind of my lack of communication, but that one really, really hurt. So yeah, at that part of the game, give me a second. I actually have notes. I took notes. Let me grab the notes. Let me read you some stuff.
Yeah. Because I was almost wondering, I mean, obviously earlier in the episode, we find out that you, Kuzi, and Leroy are pretty close. So then when you were throwing their names out, it was almost speculated of like, all right, does Kevin know these are safe names where they're not really going to necessarily take this to heart, And totally. It's just like, all right, let me raise my profile a little bit so I don't get murdered in future rounds.
Totally.
They just took it.
That was my relationship with Leroy. Leroy's this insane, honest, passionate man. He's such a strong leader. And I'm this like strategical mind. And I was like, bro, together we could do damage. But I was like, dude, you just have to trust me. Anytime something gets back to you about me, like I promise you, like I'm just playing the game for our benefit. And I thought he was on that wavelength, but oh my God. Okay, let's look at these notes. Night one. Here, I wrote this down. So I went home or in the hotel room and like just wrote notes right away. My top allies I wanted to play with. Seconds into the game, Kuzi, Gurleen, Fierce, Erica. That makes sense, right? Yep. Especially the women. I really connected with the women on this cast. May, Crystal, Melissa B. I've really jived with as well. I wrote down night one, the target has to be Domenic or Colin because I was so worried about going home first. I was like, it has to be Domenic or Colin and kind of put that in motion. And we flipped on Colin. Man, this game was so fascinating, you guys. It really was really crazy. Yeah, I had good relationships. I really did compared to my Big Brother Canada season 5 game. I just wish I took that breath. Just wish I slowed things down a little bit in the middle portion.
Was gonna ask you, and I feel like this is maybe my Big Brother brain that we've been watching it all season. Julie Chen would have asked, "What's harder, Traitors or Big Brother?"
Ooh, great question. If you were to graph it, you could make an argument. You could make an argument that Big Brother is harder just for the pure endurance factor. It's way longer. The 70 days is really an extreme marathon.
Mm-hmm.
But this game is like the 200-meter sprint. Like it is non-stop. 2 people leaving every single day. And so this is how I describe my mindset. At the end of Big Brother, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted, but there was not a single piece of me that was going to quit at the end of the marathon. Just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. Whereas in the middle of this game, it was such a psychological thriller. I started feeling almost nauseous. It was like I was on a carnival ride, and I'm like, it's like I almost wanted to get off. Like, stop the ride, stop the ride. A lot of people wanted to quit or bounce or give up on the Traitors. A lot of people said that this is just nothing I've done before. This is way too extreme. It was just like kind of a circus ride from hell at moments. And you see that, like, Rick quit. He quit. He tapped. He got voted out. He just tapped. He gave up. He wanted peace. Trevon, Mary, you can see these people actually like starting to give up. And sometimes that works to their benefit because then they like get kept around. But I would say the intensity was way higher on the Traitors, and it was an absolutely psychological, just like insane ride. Like I've never done this before. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean that says a lot given some of your BB can moments. So definitely a lot to look at.
Yeah.
Now, I know early on you had told Kareen that you were hoping to play as a faithful. You thought that you had too much sus on you already, and it would have been too much. Now, would you have welcomed being recruited at some point and getting the opportunity to play as a traitor then?
So I wanted to start the game as a faithful. And so that's what happens before the show. You sit down with Kareen, and it's almost like a little Dragon's Den. You kind of like pitch yourself as a traitor, and you banter with her. And there was 20 people in the cast. They said to me after 18 begged to be the traitor. Of the entire cast, 18 people were like, make me the traitor. I'm meant to be the traitor. Two of us, me and Group Yar, we said, no, I think we should be faithfuls in this game. We were the two that said that. And why? If I was trying to win this game, I would be a traitor. You have superpowers. If you're a traitor, you're just like, you have superpowers, really. But my goal for this game was to really play the social game, show I could connect, kind of right some of the wrongs that I had in my Big Brother career. And so I really felt like I didn't want extra baggage. I didn't want extra deception to start the game. And that's why I wanted to be a faithful. I was manifesting a recruitment for me at every moment. I was like, please slide that letter under my door. I was so ready to turn to the dark side, but they're smart. If I would have turned to the dark side, I would have probably voted out the traitors still. Oh, hi, Kuzi and Mike. Look at this little team we're on. Okay, let's target Mike. You know what I mean? Like, I would have gone that route for sure. So it's smart that they didn't recruit me. Shout out to Kuzi and Mike. They're just like turning down Kareen. Kareen comes every week and they're like, let's recruit. They're like, no. So I think that was really, really smart by Mike specifically.
Yeah, and that's what we had discussed was, honestly, because a lot of people, I feel like the fans have been saying, Kevin, we need Kevin to be recruited. He's the best player there to recruit. I'm like, but he's also the best player to backstab the traitors that that recruit him. So They definitely had that there. But that is fascinating because I do feel like you don't get a lot of people that'll come in and want the faithful spot. And I feel like you came in, and I'm so happy, Kevin, that you chose to be a faithful, because I feel like you have illustrated, and I've watched all of these franchises, you have illustrated all of these meta strategies that you would need to play a good faithful game that I feel like they don't show on the show usually. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that you put it out there, because I do think, and this might be a bold statement, but I do think a lot of the blueprint of what you've done will get picked up by other people in the future when they watch the shows and get on.
Dude, there's this new franchise, and I felt like watching the other seasons, I'm like, what are these people doing? Like, what are they doing? And so just to go on, and my execution struggled at times. I had some bad reads, but to show a blueprint, and there's like a couple different strategies you can go, but I think I did lay out really kind of a good idea of what you're supposed to do as a faithful. So I really appreciate that, Pooya. And like, I've been following your guys' coverage every single week, and you guys have such a great mind for this game. Why weren't you on the show with me, you guys? I could have used you on there. I'm fucking trying to get Domenic to play the game. You know what I mean?
No, we could have done too much damage. Of course, yeah. Kevin, of course. I had a question. And yes, there we go. So we had heard that you were, obviously one of your strategies was find the traitor, befriend the traitor, hold the traitor close. And we kind of had this conversation the last couple of weeks where it seemed like you were on Mary being a traitor, but then you were throwing out Mike's name. And I couldn't tell if the Mike name was you just throwing a name that you didn't think was the traitor to make some suspicions happen. So who were you thinking was the traitor during that time?
Yeah, when I left, I was very convinced. It was down in my brain to a group of 4. I knew the 2 traitors were in the group of Mary, Mickey, Mike, Kuzi. Mary, Mickey, Mike, Kuzi. I didn't know for sure who they were, but it was in that group. It had to be. All the information, all my observations. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Mary, I was really pretty strong that she was a traitor, and that really hurt me. That was a very bad read. And you see at this final roundtable, people are piling on Mary. I'm like, no, she's a faithful, leave her alone. And in my brain, I think she's a traitor. I just want to save her. But yeah, absolutely. And we can even take a step back. The one true, like, absolutely stone cold read I would have bet most of my money on that was Melissa B. It would have been interesting if I would have tried to keep her around and play as the traitor's pet, but I kind of wanted that moment on the show. I wanted the read to be right. I wanted the moment, the big moment at the round table. You know what I mean? My days were numbered. I really wanted to get a traitor out, even though I think in hindsight, it could have been really a high level play to just befriend her, even go to her and be like, Melissa, I know you're a traitor, but like, I'm not going to tell anybody, and let's go far together. That would be amazing, right? What a great play that would have been. She texts me all the time, Melissa B, why didn't you work with me? She texts me all the time. Melissa B's so fun. She was so great. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you need to find the traitors and kind of just like ride with them. Absolutely. Because they're the ones with the superpowers, you know?
Yeah, I think with Melissa B, I wonder if it would have been almost too hard to stop that momentum, because it did feel like a couple of other people also had that read. But I mean, speaking of stopping some momentum, I know it happened a week earlier than you were anticipating.
Yes.
But at first, we saw you and Fierce being a pretty close duo on the show, and then all of a sudden, a week earlier than you had potentially planned, she ends up getting voted out at the round table. What happened there? How much did that hurt your game?
Very bad. Very bad. And I talked to Fierce after the show. I don't think Fierce is interested in ever talking to me again from this point on. But maybe I'll keep my doors open. But me and Fierce were really close. They didn't really show this dynamic on the show. Me, Gurleen, and Fierce were just so tight. We made each other laugh so much. We were always hanging out with each other. It's such a stressful environment. Whenever we could hang out and like poke fun at each other, like we were kind of a trio, to the point where other people were like, they started calling us a clique. They're like, you guys are a clique or whatever. And it really scared me. So part of the decision to get rid of Fierce is like, we were a really tight trio, and I felt like they were going to come after us at some point, and it was going to be me to take that fall. That was just a piece of it. It really came down to this Rick vote. So I don't mind voting out Faithfuls. That's fine. But I really had an emotional bond with Rick. I really liked him. And the way he went out just didn't sit well with me. People didn't really let him talk. He kind of got, ganged up on in this way that just like, oh man, for some reason it hit an emotional chord with me. And then after, I was kind of like expecting Fierce to be like, my bad, you guys. Not for a second was there any second of remorse in any part. And that's fine as well. That's just Fierce. But then also the way Fierce came at me in Breakfast was just really shocking. And like, I get it. Fierce is going to play it for the cameras. So even at this point, I'm still willing to work with Fierce. But the last nail in the coffin that hurt our relationship was Fierce was yelling at me in the show. Like, okay, and I'm just like, this is Fierce playing up Fierce's role. But then there's these quiet moments in between the show where you're eating breakfast together, or you're walking down a hallway. In those moments, I went to Fierce, tried to get a hug, make eye contact, like give some sort of confirmation that we're still on the same page. And Fierce stone cold didn't even look at me, wouldn't touch me, wouldn't hug me. I was like, oh, like this is unmanageable. It's at a point where like Fierce is really upset. How could I have this relationship deep in the game? Gurleen was also on board. And then, yeah, we missed it by a week, but all of that led into us saying like, I think we have to get rid of Fierce. And it really hurt my game. We lost a number. I wish, for both me and Fierce, look what happened. Our relationship crumbled and we're out back to back. Like it was brutal for both of us.
Yeah.
And definitely felt like
Fierce.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. The connection you two had, from the beginning, we were like, let them both make it as far as they can, please and thank you. And then the petty war happened. I was like, this is entertaining. And then when you said, let's hold off this week, I was like, bless, give us one more week. We'll take it. And then it didn't happen, which is unfortunate.
That was so shocking because apparently that whole side of the table, they didn't even talk about it. They just kind of independently flipped based on the roundtable, which was so surprising to me. That is where my game started slipping. I vote for Trevon. Everybody votes for Fierce. And that was about night 4, and I started getting exhausted. I actually freaked out after the round table, and I was like, I need to go outside. I really was kind of crumbling. I was really struggling. That is, if I had to pinpoint one moment where my game started to fall apart, it was Fierce leaving, me being out of the vote, and just mentally being so exhausted.
Yeah. No,
it
makes sense.
I played a lot of reality TV. I played with probably 50 different players. I've never met someone who loves the camera more than Miss Fiercelicious in this aggressive way. Like Miss Fiercelicious went for maximum camera time in every single second. I loved her energy. Like we were really close. I honestly hope down the line we can laugh about it. Right now, post show, it does look like the relationship is probably done for, but I don't know. I'm open and receptive, but.
One last question for you, Kevin.
Oh, only one more? We can't do more?
I want to do more. I want to stay here for the next 3 hours.
Let's go overtime. Let's do overtime.
All right. Well, okay. So, Kareen calls you up. Bring Kevin, season 2. We want a couple people to come back again. You're one of them. Are you yesing or are you knowing?
Oh, dude. Right now, I'm knowing. I'm just like, I'm really good, man. I got everything I needed. I feel such peace in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
The one phone call that would perk up my ears is the next tier. There's the God tier, I call it. There's the God tier reality television. Dan Giesling, Derek, Will Kirby, Sari Fields, the big boys, the big players, the big girls. Let me go play with them one time. They might get me out right away, but who knows? Like, if that level of phone call and international competition for a lot of money with the most famous reality TV people have ever, and they slided me in there, I would answer that call and I'd be really pumped. But to be honest, I think I'm good with Canadian reality television. What else do I have to prove? I got to win. I play good. I play bad. I had showmances. I had flirtmances. I just was like, I just don't. I'm good. I'm done. But. If one of those phone calls come in, I will answer for the God tier is what I call it.
I did see there's a poker show you're involved with that I'm pumped about.
Yes, there is. This one we shot a long time ago. That was big money, $500,000 USD. So yeah, it was a big one. I'm really excited for that to come out. A couple weeks away, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, look, Kevin, you might have gotten all you need, but I don't think that we have. So I'm very much hoping to see you back in the future, whether that be a BB Can, US versus Canada, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Excited for whatever the next show is.
I appreciate that, Scally. That's awesome. Yeah. And I've been pushing people to your coverage. You guys a lot of people watch this show and you guys are a couple levels deeper on the strategy, and I've really enjoyed you breaking it down. It's been a lot of fun. I have one question for you guys. Please. Who's the favorite right now? The rest of the way, would you say? If you had to place a little bet, who do you think? Who do you think has a good chance to win the money?
I mean,
don't wait for me to answer first. You go ahead.
I'm of two minds. Look, I think that I'm looking on the trader side. I think that we talked a lot about last night how there are times in which like Kuzi will say something and I was like, that would have probably flagged my attention. But for some reason, she has such a way with everyone else that I think that she's playing a really, really strong game. But I'm also looking at someone who I think was a little bit hidden in the edit and worked closely with you. I think Gurleen really could take the rest of the faithfuls and maybe make something happen.
Totally. They only show glimpses of mine and Gurleen's relationship. I saw this girl early on and I was like, this girl's so smart, so under the radar, the way she talked to people. And I went to her right away. I was like, let's go to the end together. And I was cheering emotionally for Leroy and Gurleen when I left. I was like, obviously Kuzi as well, but her voting me out kind of hurt me as well. But oh man, it was sad to go, but like I left the game at this time where I was like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of good players left. I'm really excited to see what happens as well. I know what happens. I've been told it should be an amazing, amazing second half of the season.
Excited to see it play out and to just not seem like I copped out. I think we'll find out who's going to win it all next week. I think if this is truly a Mike v. Kuzi standoff episode, whoever comes out of that on top, I think we'll have the legway from the Traitors side. If the faithfuls are to take the cake, I do think it's the duo of Leroy and Gurleen that are left on the board that'll probably make that happen, especially with the information that it seemed like Melissa A parts with Leroy, which, by the way, I don't know if you watched the episode last night, Kevin. We think the Melissa's going to be the one murdered. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see.
That's right. Oh, I have also one question.
Yes.
Am I the first person to ever be banished with the shield? Like,
no,
but that's
it has
happened.
It has
That
happened.
has happened
before. Yeah.
That's so brutal. Fucking so
Tough.
brutal. I finally get the shield and I don't even get to go to bed with it. I'm like, that was so devastating. Do you see on the episode? I was like, I'm never getting banished. I have the shield. I'm like, this is my ticket to the end of the game. And it's so embarrassing. But whatever. Sometimes if you play as aggressive as I do and you talk as much shit in the DR as I do, like, you're gonna look like an idiot sometimes.
Listen, all I'm saying is I don't know if you want to go to bed with it when it was in Mickey's foot for like a whole night. So maybe you're fine. Maybe it all worked out the way it should have.
That's great.
Well, we appreciate you so much, Kevin. Thanks for giving us your time and then some. We look forward to talking to you in the future. Maybe we dive a little deeper. Who knows? If you're willing, if we can, if the
Totally,
stars align.
I have a whole book of notes here. Also, do you know what's really cool? I had access to a photography device in the, obviously no cell phone connection. I played the game very securely, but I did have a video recording device in my hotel room. And every time I went to bed, I recorded my live in-person thoughts. So I have about 20 minutes of content during the game of me breaking it down in my head. I think we should look into that together in a deep dive. That would be really fun.
Ooh,
that would be really interesting.
Extremely down.
We will be there.
Yeah. Post show, hour and a half, 2 hours. We go through every single little bit of the game for the fans. That would be really cool.
Done and dusted. Count us in. We'll see you at the season's end. Kevin,
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You guys. Cheers.
Appreciate you. Take care. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Traitors Wrap Up podcast. Boy, do we have a surprise for you. You were missing an exit interview last week. You were upset. You asked us plenty. When are we going to get the Fierce exit interview? Well, myself and Scally are here to talk with the lovely Fierce. Fierce, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Doing great now that we're getting to talk to you. We're so excited for this, aren't we, Scally?
Very much so. Been looking forward to it all season. Been very excited. Yeah. So, now that we finally get to complete our set of interviews, very excited. But Fierce, I guess we should probably go all the way back to the beginning on this. Now, coming in here, had you watched any of the other Traitors? Like, how did you get involved with this?
Okay, so I remember I tweeted a while ago. I was like, what show should I do next? And then someone was like, the Traitors, and I kind of looked into it. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Oh, sorry, I just choked. Then they reached out to me and they're like, would you be interested in doing this show? And then I looked into it and I was like, oh wait, yeah, this is the show I was looking at before. It looks really cool. And then I watched all the franchises, all the different versions, and I was like, okay, this is the show for me. I got sabotaged on Canada's Drag Race so hard. So who better to do the sabotaging than someone who's been sabotaged,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that leads me to the next question. So it sounds to me like you were jonesing for that Traitors role. How did you feel when it didn't happen?
A traitor so bad, it's not even funny. And every single one of my moves on the show, I was doing because I wanted to become a traitor. I was fighting and I fought a little too hard, and then they got rid of me.
Yeah, it was tough. I thought that would have been such a fun role to see you in. As soon as the cast was announced, it was number one pick. I want Fierce as a traitor. It would be super fun. And now I know you did talk about online, though, that you said now that you were a faithful, you basically were going to try to be a little messy so that you wouldn't get murdered at night.
I mean, that was my whole strategy. I was like, okay, how am I going to protect myself from getting murdered? I need to be messy. So there's heat on me, and then the traitors will keep me around because first of all, it'll deflect from them. Second of all, people might be suspicious of me. But also, my social game was so good in that house. I had a good relationship with every single person in the house. So I knew that I would never get banished. Honestly, that was never on my mind. Even the day I got banished, I was like, yeah, I'm not worried about getting banished. In my confession, I was like, I'm not worried about getting banished today. Good that I did.
Yeah, I think it takes a certain level of finesse to be messy and have good social game to survive that long. Because I will say, you provided a lot of mess on the show, which was a good time.
I survived 4 whole weeks without my name getting brought up once. Nobody even thought I was a traitor. They're like, Fierce is too messy to actually be a traitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was what really stood out to me about your roundtable. And I don't know if this was maybe different in person, but I did not watch that and think, oh, Fierce is going home, Fierce is in danger. So when in person in that moment, did you think that it was coming your way, or was that a surprise?
No, it was a complete blindside. The whole day, Like, nobody was talking about me the whole day. Nobody was throwing my name. But the moment I knew I was going home was once the shield got brought up and everybody went around the table and said they didn't have the shield. And then I was like, I just like, my heart sank and I was like, I'm going home. Like, they're going to think I have the shield.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Who did you think was going home that night?
That day, everyone thought Trevon was going home. But then Trevon showed up at the round table and literally gave up. So everyone was like, Trevon's not the traitor. Even I switched my vote to like May. And I was like, yeah, I don't think Trevon is the traitor either. Like, he literally just gave up. But I was there to fight, and I did not do the but it fought a little hard, and they kicked me out of the manor.
I was surprised to see your vote switch to May there. I was wondering, because it did seem like you guys had aligned at certain points, maybe against like a Rick, and at other points. So who were you working with pretty closely in this game?
So, I mean, they came up in the episode, but like, I had a Fierce 4 alliance with Gerline, Kevin, and Kuzi, and we were in the alliance from like day one. Or like, day one, we kind of like came together, but then the day 2 was like when we were like actually like fully in an alliance, like fully working together every single day. A lot of that got like cut out. Like, you don't see like me and Gerline and like Kuzi were holding hands every single day, like running around the manor, just like giggling. And I was really close to Kevin as well, which you saw. But yeah, I don't know, I got cut out.
Yeah, no, it was super fun to watch you all season. Now, we did just mention Rick. What was it about Rick that had you so sure that he was a traitor?
Okay, I was so convinced Rick was a traitor because, so the first, okay, wait, I have to go back like 3 days.
Sure. Please do.
Okay, this is going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but we're going to get back to Rick. Okay, so day one, before we had all like found out who the traitors were, Crystal comes up to me. She's like, I think Colin is the traitor, and I think he's lying about being a bus driver. Then the next day, Crystal changes her mind all of a sudden, and this is the day after the traitors had met, mind you. So Crystal all of a sudden is like, oh no, it's not Colin, it's Melby. And I'm like, Crystal's a traitor. Why? Like, she met. Also, I thought Colin was a traitor as well because I noticed his reaction at the round table. He was not looking around at everyone. His like eyes were down. A lot of people picked up on that. I didn't see Mel B's reaction because we were sitting on the same side, so I couldn't like look at her. But yeah, I was convinced it was Colin. Then all of a sudden, Crystal deflecting from Colin. So I was like, oh my god, Crystal might be the traitor. And then that day, she was like, so that day everybody was saying Colin's name. They're like, we're voting for Colin. But she's like, everyone's saying it's Mel B. And I was like, no, it's not Mel B. And then she's like, you need to be careful. The traitors are Mel B, Kevin, and Kuzi. And then I went right to Kuzi and I was like, that's what Crystal just told me. I was like, I think she's a traitor. Next day, that day calling in Spanish, she's not the traitor. Next day, we come for Mel B. And then that day, I'm sitting with Rick. And I was like, okay, so at breakfast, me and Kevin were sitting down and we're like, okay, we have to look at Mel B. When she walks in, we saw that her reaction was like, very over the top. She was like, oh, I'm the last one in. What? So knew she was a traitor immediately. Then I went to Rick and I was like, hey, we're all voting I rallied the troops. I was like, we're voting out Mel B today. And he's like, no, we're voting out. She's not the traitor. It's Dom. And I'm like, no, it's not. Dom is just like Dom, but like he's not a traitor. And then when he was doing that, I was like, why is Rick trying so hard to deflect onto Dom when everybody wants to vote for Mel B? So then I told Rick, I was like, you are on my radar right now, but I'm not going to come for you unless we get Mel B up tonight and she's actually a traitor. And then we did that night. And she was a traitor, so I came for Rick. And I had this conversation with Rick. He's like, I never told you that Dom was a traitor. I'm like, yes, you did, honey. I am very young and youthful. I still have my memory. Thank you.
So now, after we do lose Mel...
I'm going to answer for sorry.
No,
we love
good,
it.
please.
We're happy.
We would have interjected. I was entertained. But so, once we do lose Mel B, then we end up losing Rick the next round. And that's where we see that Kevin does not end up voting with you on that Rick vote. And you were not a big fan of that. Can you walk us through why that was such a big issue?
Yeah. So I wasn't mad at Kevin for switching his vote. The reason I was mad at Kevin was because you kind of saw it in the episode, from day one, me and Kevin made an alliance. Kevin was like, we're going to go all the way to the end together. Then he was also going around the rest of the manor telling everyone the same thing. I didn't know that. But I genuinely believe that Kevin and I were like very close, that we had a very close alliance, that we would be working all the way, that he trusted me, and that he would listen to me. And if he had come up to me and told me that, oh, I'm having doubts about Rick, like I want to change my vote, I would have been fine with that. Like Crystal earlier that day, like I was telling her we're voting for Rick, and she's like, I don't know, I had my doubts. She switched her vote. I wasn't mad about that. But then Kevin switching his vote, and I saw him that whole day, he was going around talking to every single person except for me. I'm like, Kevin does not trust me. I'm not actually his number one in this competition. He's just there with my face. He's using me in this game. And I'm not having any of it, Kevin. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be a pawn in your game. So that night, after the vote, I was so mad. I did not sleep the whole night because I was like livid. I was infuriated by Kevin. I was just sitting in my bed restless. I woke up, pissed, walk into breakfast, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna walk in and act like everything's okay. I just and I didn't even say anything at first. I just walked in mad because I was, and I sat down. And everyone asked me, why are you mad? And I said, I hate Kevin, because I did. So but yeah, I wasn't mad because he switched his vote. It's just the fact that I felt like he was using me in the game.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair read. I mean, in terms of could there have been any work to repair that relationship in the game? And could Kevin have done something differently moving forward? Because yeah, Kevin's a game. I think it's a fair read that he is going to be.
Do you want to know why Kevin made that whole plan to get rid of me? It was because I didn't hug him. The little baby got upset that he didn't get a hug, so we made a little plan with Gurleen to get me out of the house.
Where's my hug really takes a whole new meaning here.
After that round table, I was so mad. I was like, Kevin, don't even talk to me. Don't even look at me. And I didn't hug him. He tried to hug me, and I was like, stay away from me. And he was pissed the next day.
Yeah, because we did see the two of you talk after breakfast, and he was trying to reconcile with you. This is where you tell us that you feel like you're a pawn in Kevin's game and nothing can change that. Was there anything in that conversation that made you feel like, nah, Kevin's this is the Kevin I know? Or was it just changed?
So it was edited really weirdly because after that conversation, me and Kevin were fine. I felt like me and Kevin were fine. We were fine up until we got to the mission. And then Kevin got really mad at me because I won the goal. I'm sorry you were bad in the mission when you thought you were going to be a little genius. But I won the goal, and I was really happy to win the goal. So I was like, woo, I won the goal. And he said I was rubbing in his face, which I was not Kevin, I was not minding you. I was just happy to win. You would have been happy as well if you had won, but unfortunately you got 0 for 3. So you don't know what it's like to win.
So I mean, where do we?
He did win Big Brother, but irrelevant.
So where do we stand with Kevin today? What's the status of that?
I don't really care for him. I'm sorry. Once we got back from the show, we made up. We were fine. He avoided the truth. He didn't tell me about his whole plan that he was planning to get me kicked out of the house. I had no idea about that until other people came home and filled me in. And then when I brought that up with him, we got another fight over that. Then we've been fine for a bit. And yeah, after the last few weeks, just seeing the way that he's talks about me on TV, it just really infuriated me. I think he's a little bit narcissistic and very full of himself, which I am too to some extent, but I don't bring my friends down in the process. You know, I never said anything bad about Kevin on the show. He pissed me off so much in the last episode when the mission where we were flying the planes, when he's like, Fierce, why are you talking so much? But you don't even know what the puzzle looks like. Actually, I did know what the puzzle looked like because I was cheating. I was looking at the other team and looking at their puzzle. I knew exactly what the puzzle looked like. And if you look at the aerial shots, you can see that I was correct. The puzzle was wrong. But Kevin has to always be right, so he had to just go and badmouth me in his interview. Also, we even took my strategy of cheating for the next round. So Kevin knew I was doing that. But still, just because we lost one round, he got so butthurt over it. He had to talk all this nonsense about me. And then hearing him in the last episode too, I was like, okay, I need to I've had enough of my Kevin. Can't deal with this anymore. I need my distance. I'm sorry. I'll see you on Twitter.
I got you. So, Fierce, let's say you don't get voted out that night, and by some miracle, they decide to actually recruit. You get recruited finally as a traitor. Who's your first target for murder there?
Kevin.
That's what I thought. Just checking. I wasn't sure.
But also, it would have been like really smart because like, so at that point, me and Kevin had made up. Like going into the round table, we were fine. We were friends. But little did I know he was plotting behind my back with Gerline to get rid of me. But I thought we were fine. Also, Kevin came up to me before the round table and was like, just so you know, I'm going to throw some heat on you at the round table, but I'm doing it to protect you. Because if you have heat on you, and I was like, you know what, Kevin? You're right. I'm fine with that. Go ahead. Go crazy. So we were good going into the round table. We were fine. And then the next day, had I been recruited, I would have murdered Kevin because nobody would have suspected that I would come for him because we were friends at that point, you know?
Yeah.
I have one last question, Fierce. This is my final question. Okay. Who's Mike?
I've been trying to figure that out for myself. Oh my god, that moment was so funny. Like, okay, so we always called him Magic Mike the entire time. So when they said Mike, I was like, I literally sat there, like, they cut it down so short because I was sitting there for like a whole minute. I was like, not Mickey, like, who's Mike? And then they're like, the magician. I was like, oh, Magic Mike.
I am going to sneak in actually one last question of my own. Fierce, I do want to know now, which host has the better looks, Corinne or Brooklyn?
Oh. You're setting me up here. Okay, sorry, Kareem, but I have to say Brooklyn. But only because like Brooklyn's like a drag queen, you know. She's always gonna be like so much more extravagant. But Kareem definitely has the best looks of any host in the Traitors franchise.
There we go.
I think I'd co-sign that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
other than me,
of course, naturally.
Without saying.
We can't say how happy we are that we were able to get a chance to talk to you. Your energy is unmatched, and hopefully we see you back on TV sooner rather than later. I thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Bye.